Jesus pointed out the gift of a widow when he was due to die in just a few days. Why did he pause to do that with so much at stake? Today I will explain the impact of that moment. Hi, I'm Alex Ennis with Simplify Strategies, and this is our 23rd devotional in our series, March to the Cross. Hey, thanks so much for being here. At Simplify Strategies, we give God-inspired solutions to help you with your personal challenges, to help you find your path forward. Today, we meet the widow in the temple in our 25 unique persons and things that Jesus met on his way to the cross and resurrection. This is the last time Jesus will be in the temple before his crucifixion. He is now within hours of when he will be arrested, falsely accused, beaten, flogged, and he'll be put on a criminal's cross. He has battled religious leaders all day with their questions and attempts to entrap him. The leaders have now left. He has been teaching the common people. We find the story in Mark 12, starting in verse 41. Jesus sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people came in and put in large amounts. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions. For they gave a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on." The Your Path Forward takeaway is this: the tiniest of gift can impact for generations to come. I have found it fascinating in our devotional series how many times Jesus was at church. He taught there, he healed there, he was confronted there by religious leaders who hated him. Here he is in the temple where it is Passover week. Thousands and thousands of people have come into Jerusalem for the celebration. It's vibrant, loud, and it's an intense week. Jesus is physically tired from the confrontations and the teachings, and he sits down. In this area, there would have been massive columns to sit up against. So now he sits down and people watches. He knows that people are going to have to come by and put in their offering. You know what's really weird? He is now watching people put their offering in at church. Imagine knowing that Jesus was watching your offering. What would you do differently, if anything? Would you pause? Would you reach in and pull out more because he is watching? Would you look at him like the wealthy did, probably with a smile and nod of, "I'm pretty awesome, aren't I, Jesus?" Or would you try to quickly move, throw in something, and get out of there for fear of judgment? Or maybe you're sad because you can't give more, but you gave what you had. The offering collections were large trumpet-shaped receptacles that received the offering. They would make a loud sound if you threw in large coins. Do you remember seeing one of those coin donation pieces where, it's really wide at the top and it goes down like this? It's like a huge kind of a trumpet bell-shaped thing. Well, when you put the coin in, it goes round and around and around and around and around and around until it finally reaches the bottom. One thing I also remember about them is they are loud. Well, it's basic science as to why. It's like it's a megaphone, like a trumpet to amplify the coin going around. That's what their collection receptacles were kind of like. To understand how little, though, she put in, the 2 coins would be about 1/4 of a penny, or maybe even 1/2 of a penny. So light and so insignificant, there's no sound made. When you factor in the crowds and the hustle and the bustle, nobody would have heard it. Certainly nobody would have been impressed if they did. If they did see it, they probably would have been tempted to smirk at how little that was and any impact that it would have for God's kingdom. But Jesus huddles up the disciples. He says, Look at what she gave. I'm sure their eyes were straining and their ears hadn't heard anything, at least compared to the wealthy. whom they were likely impressed by. Jesus brags on a widow who gave about a quarter to a half of a penny. She came in humility, quietness. She may have even been embarrassed by how little it was comparatively. But Jesus stops and points out the incredible generosity. While humanity couldn't hear her gift, it roared through the kingdom of heaven. The widow has come to the temple to worship and to give. You know, this is the same God that took her husband, and it's the same God she's giving to. She's giving everything she has. She is guaranteed nothing when she returns home. Jesus literally exclaims this woman gave her bios. See, it's bigger than giving everything she had. Well, what do we know about that word bios? In the tech world, it's the input-output system. In biology, it's where we find the word for life. She didn't just put in all of her money, she put in all of her bios, her life. This is an odd time to point this out. In just a few days, he will be dying on the cross. Why make a big deal about a widow's offering at this time? He could have done that last year or the year before. You get the picture. What is Jesus telling us if this is critical to point out just before his death? Doesn't it make you grateful that Jesus notices when we give a gift out of a good heart and doing the best with what we have? You may feel like your gift is not at the level of others. The good news is that Jesus notices when we put our bios, our life in it. He pauses. He takes note. He gathers those around him and says, look at them. Look at how they gave. Isn't it interesting that we have a story of a widow who gave around a quarter of a penny to half a penny, and it is still being talked about today? Your life can have the same impact. Put your bios, your all in. If you don't have much, your tiny gift can impact generations to come with just simple obedience. If you have much, the same can still be said of you. That doesn't mean that the poor have the ability to make kingdom impact and you don't. The key here is to put our bios, our life all in. What you or others may find insignificant, God may use to impact humanity for decades to come. Next, we meet the thieves on the cross in our 25 unique persons and things that Jesus met on his way to the cross and resurrection. I'm Alex Ennis. I'll see you next time.